Hello and welcome back to Beckler Guitars and Repair, and today we're checking out a little bit of an early birthday gift I just got myself. This is an Eastman T59 in antique amber. I've been looking for a good hollow body for a while now, so let's see how this one is. Let's take a look. Really quick, if you're not familiar with Eastman guitars, basically these are offshore guitars built to really high quality specs in kind of a handcrafted custom shop type setting. They're putting out custom shop level instruments for much lower prices. I've got a review of an SB55V Eastman that I just did, and I'll put the link in the description. But long story short, they're great guitars for... So yeah, my birthday's really close to Christmas, and this year I decided to get myself a guitar, kind of as a birthday slash Christmas present for myself. And so I took advantage of the Boxing Week deals at a local mom and pop store in my area, and I took a bunch of guitars that I don't use anymore, and I traded them all in for this one. So this is the Eastman T59V in an antique amber finish. Comes in this really nice suede case, and yeah, I noticed this one right away when I walked into the store because of the color. So black and orange are my favorite colors, and yeah, this one just looked great. And I've heard really good things about this guitar. Obviously it's made to compete with Gibsons, but they're a little bit cheaper than a Gibson, like a 335, and they've got really high-end specs on this thing, which I'll go through in a minute. And really rave reviews as well. I heard a couple sound tests on the internet, and I was really blown away with how good everything sounded in every single review. So I went and tried it out for myself, and I really loved it. And yeah, it ended up coming home with me. So some of the specs are a really nice flame top here. This is a maple, poplar maple laminate arch top, just like on the 335. We've got two Seymour Duncan antiquity pickups, so really nice high-end pickups on this guitar. Three-way toggle, two-tone, two-volume. This one actually has relict Goto hardware. So we've got our Goto tailpiece and Goto tunematic style bridge. It's got the F-holes, which are bound as well. It's got really nice multi-ply binding all over the top on this as well. And the finish is an antique varnish finish, and it's a hand-rubbed finish that they use on violins, Eastman does, and it's a really nice finish. It's super thin. It's supposed to be nice and resonant and light and breathable for the guitar, but it looks great and has a really nice feel to it. We've got high-end electronics in this, which I'll pull out the endoscope in a bit and we can check. And then, yeah, we've got our relict Seymour Duncan antiquity pickups. There's our pick guard there. And these ones have an ebony fingerboard with real mother of pearl split parallelogram inlays, which look great. There's some really nice color in some of this inlay, and it really pops in the light. We've got medium Jescar frets, 22 frets. This is a 24.75 scale with a 12-inch radius, very similar to a ES335. And the neck is bound too. We've got multi-binding on the neck with an Ivoroid binding. And then that's a real bone nut. We've got an ebony truss cover. This is a single action truss rod, just like a Gibson uses. And then the neck is bound as well. We've got the mother of pearl Eastman logo inlay, and the headstock has an ebony veneer as well. And these guitars have a long neck tenon and more of that really nice, gorgeous flame maple in the back, and more of that Ivoroid on the heel cap. And the neck is fully maple. With it does have the wings, very similar to a Gibson, And then we've got Goto relic machine heads as well. So yeah, just a really nicely spec'd guitar. But when I plugged it in the store, I couldn't believe how good these pickups sound. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some specs on this thing. We'll take a look with the endoscope and have a look on the inside, and then we'll plug it in and see how this thing sounds. Weighing in at just over 8 pounds, 8 pounds, 1.3 ounces. Width at the nut is 1.73, and at the 12th fret, a 2.04. Neck depth at the 1st fret is a 0.86, and at the 12th fret, a 0.92. And it definitely has a little bit more of a chunkier neck. I would call this a 50s rounded kind of a profile if you were talking about Gibsons. So here's a look at the neck profile. So yeah, a pretty traditional, like standard C shape. And our Seymour Duncan Antiquities are reading an 8.34 in the bridge position and a 7.3 in the neck, and in the middle a 3.89. And here's a look at our tailpiece, which is a relic Goto tailpiece. It's aged nickel and it's full weight. And this is the Tune-O-Matic style bridge, which again is aged nickel. And our tailpiece posts as well as our bridge posts are aged nickel as well, and these bridge posts have the top adjustment screw here along with the thumb wheel. And let's have a look at our pickups. So there is our Seymour Duncan Antiquity in the neck. And yeah, it's got the braided wire, and this one is signed by the winder as well. And there's a look at our route there. So yeah, this route is going right into the maple center block here. So we can see that that's where it's routed. And then here we can see, let's see if I can get a better look here. And then there we can see our maple, poplar maple sandwich layer. And the inside of the pickup cavity route is finished as well. You can actually feel the finish. And then have a look at our bridge here. It's pretty tight. I don't really want to pull on it too hard. But yeah, you can see it's more the same. We've got, it says bridge along with the signature of the winder. And the route looks good as well. It looks like that the center block in the middle kind of opens up a little bit there for that wire. But we'll have a better look with the endoscope a little bit later about that. So yeah, that's all looking good. Nice clean routes. Here's a look at our pick guard. So it's actually a really big, thick piece of plastic, and then it's bound in that kind of Ivoroid material, the same thing that binds the guitar. So it looks, yeah, looks nice. It's high quality. And the back looks like it's epoxied on here, same style as like an ES335. And then you've also got a little bit of padding here where it mounts to the body on the top screw. And this is how the guitar looks like without the pick guard on. So yeah, it looks good. You just have to deal with that little pick guard screw. Alright, full disclosure. This is about the last thing you want to have to do on an expensive brand new guitar. But I like my instruments to play very low. Usually that's below, you know, what they're set up at the factory for. And some guitars are able to achieve very low action. It just depends on the individual fret job on that guitar. Now these are coming from China, so there's a lot of different humidity changes coming from there to here. So the frets can move around a little bit, and I mean, even on Gibsons, sometimes you can't get them perfectly low. So I could get really nice action on this, pretty acceptable action. Most people would be happy with that, but I wanted to get really nice low action on this guitar because I've been looking for a hollow body for a while and I just wanted to play perfectly. So I went ahead and did a fret level on this. I noticed there was a little bit of a few high frets here and over here. Again, you couldn't even notice it with even with low action, but I wanted mine very low. So I did a quick fret level on this. I've had to do this with multiple high-end guitars. If you want to play it very, very low, you usually got to bring your guitar to a tech to be able to do that, or you might get lucky and just have one with an absolutely perfect fret job. So anyway, that's what I'm doing now because I want this thing to play outstanding. So I went ahead and leveled all the frets, and then I recrowned them with a crowning file, and now I'm just going to go ahead and sand it and repolish it, and we'll see how that looks. And here's how it looks after. It ended up being a pretty minor job. There was just some very slight high spots that was only affecting the guitar if I wanted to get the action like dead low. So overall it was very simple repair. And now we can see the frets are just really nice and shiny. And that ebony board's nice and dark. And those mother of pearl inlays really shine in the light too. So yeah, everything looks good. Let's go ahead and use the endoscope and see what the inside looks like. Okay, going in the bass side F hole, there we can see our serial number and model number on that tag at the bottom there. And that's up looking toward the horn. You can see our maple center block and the bottom ply of maple on the top and the bottom, and some kerfing on the sides. Everything looks clean. No surprises in there really. Looks like there's some mahogany in the maple center block as well, and more of that kerfing, and not much glue mess in there. It looks pretty clean. Okay, now we're going to go in the treble side. And there we can see our Switchcraft output jack. A little bit of glue squeeze out there. And we can see our full-size CTS pots. We've got our... those are 500K pots as well. And then we've got a capacitor there. There's that window through the center block. So I read online that actually makes it easier to work on this guitar. So instead of fishing stuff through the F hole, you can go right through that that hole in the block, which is cool. And then, yeah, we can see our pickup coming from the center block there. That's a look at our horn. Nice and clean over there. Alright, I just want to quickly go over this guitar, if there's any QC issues, fit and finish stuff. I bought this guitar off the wall at a music store, so it's hard to say what actually happened to it while it was there and what came from the factory. But we can get a kind of a basic idea of what to expect. So yeah, this antique finish is kind of like a VOS finish from Gibson. It's meant to look a little bit aged and not quite buffed up to perfection. So you get a little bit of that cloudiness in a few areas, but it does look good. There's a couple very small spots where it is kind of sunk in to the you know, the space between the binding and the headstock veneer, but that's just very, very slight. But you can see it there. And there's a look at our truss rod. So Eastman truss rods are a little different than Gibson. You can have a little bit of thread showing and it's no issue. I recently did a review on my S55, or sorry, my SB55V. I have another Eastman with this antique finish and this same style of truss rod, and there was a lot more thread than this showing. So I went ahead and maxed that out to the very end, and there was still a lot of room. So yeah, on a Gibson this would be like entering the realm of like limited adjustability, but the Eastman truss rods are a little bit different. You can have a little bit more threads showing and a little bit more room. And then there's a look at our bone nut, which is very nicely cut and nicely polished, and the frets are super shiny now. When they came from the store, they were very nice. Maybe not quite this level of shine, but close. And now they're all perfectly level. Again, they were not bad by any means, but I want this thing to play very, very low, so I had to adjust that a little bit for my own playing preference. And then, yeah, the binding all looks really good. And the finish feels and looks really good. Really nice piece of wood, book matched, they used for the top. And usually in the sides, Gibson can be a little bit sloppy. There's a little tiny bit of like stain bleed on the binding right there. But overall, you know, it's really well done. And the fret ends are really nice and rounded. And they look good. So look at that other side. Little bit of bleed there, but again, about as much as would be on any Gibson. And more look at that beautiful grain. There's our Switchcraft output jack. And our Goto aged relic tuners. They feel really good. Goto hardware and tuners are super high-end stuff, and never had an issue with it. They're great. Alright, let's get this thing set up and we'll check the setup. I managed to get a really nice setup on this guitar. So yeah, you can see that the truss rod is set nice and tight, the neck's nice and straight, and there's just a very small gap between the not straight edge and the fingerboard. And in the 3rd fret area, when you use the 3rd fret, you can see that the string's resting just gently against that 1st fret. That tells us that the neck is nice and straight, the truss rod's tight, and this nut is cut really nicely. So we've got really good action there. And then in the 12th fret, you can see that at the low E, we're sitting right between 1 and 1.25 millimeters, and at the high E, just between 0.75 and 1. So yeah, now very nice low action. So yeah, I like to speed up this part, but if you want to hear it in real time, slow down your player to 0.25 or 25%. So yeah, very nice low action and no fretting out or buzzing anywhere. I'm just going to play this a little bit acoustically so you can hear the resonance here. So yeah, I'm string up with Ernie Ball 9s here, super slinkies, and yeah, it rings out quite nice acoustically. Alright, I'm plugged into my 1965 Fender Bassman using a 212 cab, and we're just going to go through the clean tones and a little bit of dirty and see if this thing sounds as good as it did in the store. I'm also miking up the cabinet with an SM57, and I'm using an Audio-Technica P48 for an overhead like condenser microphone for the room. So yeah, sounds really great, clean. You've got that really nice ES335 thing going on. The pickups are nice and bell-like and chimey, especially in the bridge position. And you've got that really nice amount of space between each notes because of the you get with hollow bodies too. Yeah, it really does sound great, and maybe a lot of that is these really nice Seymour Duncan Antiquity pickups. But yeah, this guitar really does sound fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and try it with a little bit of distortion. Alright, so what are my final thoughts on this Eastman T59V in antique amber? I was a little worried I wasn't going to like this guitar. When I played it in the store, it wasn't set up great, the action was pretty high, but it sounded great through the amplifier. So when I took it home and set it up the way I liked it, it didn't quite play as well as I wanted it to. There was a little bit of buzzing out just because I really do prefer my action to be very low. So I need to do a little bit of work to get it where I wanted it, which is fine. That's usually the case when I buy guitars. Occasionally I'll find a unicorn that can get as low as I want it without any work, but that's just something I kind of expect now. However, I was a little bummed out that I had to do it, but then once I plugged it in to my amp, I was right back a believer again, because this guitar sounds amazing. It could be a combination of, you know, the high quality woods and materials they use, as well as the finish. Probably has a lot to do with these pickups. These are the Seymour Duncan Antiquities, and they sound just amazing in this guitar. Sounded great clean and overdriven, and you just get some really nice space between the notes that you don't quite get on a solid body guitar. And they broke up exactly when I wanted them to, and yeah, just big, huge, vintage Gibson ES335 tones out of this thing. And yeah, I'm gonna absolutely keep this guitar just because I haven't played a guitar that sounds this good in quite a while. And yeah, it was noticeable through the recording and in the room. This thing just sounds great. The guitar played great after I set it up too, and I really like the weight. Everything's really well balanced, and I really like the way this finish feels. The neck profile was great. Really fit my hand well. It's not too thin. A little bit of chunk on there, which I really like. Comes with a really nice case. Eastman actually comes with a limited lifetime warranty too, which is a nice plus. And yeah, Eastman just continues to knock it out of the park for me. I really love my SB55V, my Les Paul Jr. style one, and I'm sure I'm really gonna love this guitar too, if only just for the incredible sound. But that's gonna be it for today. Thank you for tuning in to Beckler Guitars and Repair, and I'll have more for you really soon. Thanks a lot.